just recently I realized that I never really have spoken about my awesome mixing setup that I have here in my studio. And I really would love to share my pros and cons with the setup, because I think most people of you don't really have such a setup how I'm doing this. High-level overview what I'm doing. So I have, of course, plenty of synthesizers and drum computers, and my main intention is to always have everything connected so that I can just go there, play it live, and record it the way how I love to do that. And so therefore, I really want everything to be connected all the time. Almost everything I have is connected directly to those two mixers. There's just one exception, which is basically here my studio mic, which goes straight directly into my audio interface, so I can record this there. I have two digital mixers, and they are both connected to my audio interface via ADAT and SPDIF. And so therefore I'm able to have everything connected to one source, which is basically my audio interface. Before you ask yourself the question, do you really need a mixer or not, is what is really the purpose of this mixer. So I'm clearly using this setup as an input mixer rather than a mixing desk like you might see in big studios, so that I don't really do the mix down on these mixers. I do everything in the computer in the box. Also, I have two analog mixers, a old Behringer mixer and a Mackie mixer. I'm mainly using them for DAWless jam sessions, but right now they're even not connected, so let's keep them out of scope here for this discussion. I'm using a Yamaha 01V mixer and another Yamaha 01V96 mixer, and they are connected via ADAT and SPDIF to my audio interface, so that everything is basically connected. The positive aspect of ADAT is that out of this mixer I have 8 direct outputs of the mixer going straight into my audio interface via ADAT, so therefore it's basically an extension of audio inputs of my audio interface, while the mixer to the right is connected via SPDIF, and this gives me only 2 outputs, so just a stereo sum of whatever I'm doing here on my mixer. However, in my setup, this is not really a problem, because usually it's just me in the studio playing one synth or maybe 2 synths, and then I anyhow just record maybe a stereo sum. However, if I want to do multi-track recording, I can do this with the left mixer via ADAT, and of course as well the audio interface, which has 8 preamps. I'm getting quite into the detail, and this is, I think, the biggest downside of the setup. It adds you so much more complexity. So if you just have 2 or 3 or 4 audio sources, you might just want to connect them directly to your audio interface, and you can do everything in there already. However, if it's getting more complex, you might want to add some mixer, or otherwise you always would have to patch in or patch out things or connect or disconnect it, which is not really my thing. And to be honest, biggest reason number 1, right? It looks cool, right? I mean, I'm so successful because of my mixers, right? So therefore I have them, and it's really looking cool. Seriously, I mean, these glorious studios you see on YouTube videos and big studios in America, they always have a big desk of older days, and it looks fancy, it looks cool. People understand that this is then a recording studio where people make music rather than just having some keyboards around or even a computer. So of course this is a big factor, but for me it's really about the functionality that adds a mixer still to a studio in these days. The biggest reason is that everything is always connected. And you might wonder, why is that so important? But my experience is that if you're in the flow and you want to make some music, you want to have everything ready. And by ready, I mean I don't want to patch it in, find the proper cable, plug it in, configure it in my DAW. I just want to use it and maybe press one button to unmute it, and then I can use here my synthesizer, for example. Just imagine you already have drunken some beers, or you're tired, or basically both. You still want to make music, then I think this is really nice that everything is connected. Of course, a mixer is like a glorified patch bay where you can have everything together into one place, and you can also exchange things. The biggest feature in my case is the no latency or low latency case, because the mixers have dedicated ASIC chips for the purpose what they are doing, and therefore they have much lower latency than what we know from if we patch in stuff into our DAW and then monitor it there in software. You can have a similar feature with audio interfaces like my Focusrite, where you can do hardware mixing and you can directly output the input to your audio headphones or to your studio monitors, but then you can't really add any effects, which I can do with the digital mixers. Mixers give you a kind of flexibility. For me, it's quite easy to just add another source of recording. If, for example, I want to record the JX3P with the Nord lead, I can do so by just enabling both synthesizers and play it together either via MIDI or maybe with two hands, and I can just record it that way. And you can also just put in effects and maybe remove them. In the case of the JX3P, the chorus adds a quite noisy sound to everything, and if you would sum everything together, you always have a layer of noise on your signal, so a not so big signal to noise ratio. And therefore, I always mute the JX3P, except I'm recording it or playing with it, but then I mute it again. So the mixer allows me to do such things. Also, when you plan your studio, I think it's very important that you plan a little bit ahead and think a little bit further than what you want to do maybe right now. So this is the reason why I not just went with a 2 or 4 channel audio interface, but rather an 8 channel interface. It was not that expensive, but still it wasn't the cheapest one. But I don't need a big audio interface to connect everything because I have my mixers, and so therefore it gives me the freedom of choice for an audio interface, or even if I want to exchange it with some other device in the future. However, it's still nice to add up some things because of the 8 feature and that mixer and the 8 audio inputs of my audio interface, I can sum up everything, and theoretically I could do 18 input recording means 18 voices directly. So I never really tried this out, and maybe I should do a video on that. So, but finally, you might ask yourself why I still have some patch bass. I think patch bass give you another kind of flexibility that you don't really have with mixers. Yes, you can also patch in things and out on the mixer, but for me, it's more about having the better or proper usability of the gear. For example, here the 3630 compressor, and others have the jacks at the back, and I don't want to patch in and climb around and do, because it's really annoying. And so therefore I can just go here. And for example, right now I have patched the third output of the machine drum into the sidechain of the compressor to have a kick, sidechain kick. And such things is quite easy to do so via the patch bay. However, the downside is it really gives you another complexity and another weak point, because the cabling is really a pain. Loose connections, or maybe cables that are not really nice, or maybe you labeled something wrong. So really organization here is key to keep an overview of your patch bays. Those are the thoughts I wanted to share with you, and I would love to see and read what your opinion is on that topic, because I know I'm a part of a minority. Not all people have, or the majority don't really have mixers in their studios, because it's a luxurious part, really having everything connected